buildings in London, like the Bank of England and so on and so forth. And you're looking at Rome. And Rome never went away. It just changed the way it operated, went underground rather than in your face. And we're actually seeing, Henrik, actually, almost a cycle being completed now, because there was a point where people were rebelling against overt, in-your-face dictatorship, i.e. royal diktat, kings and queens dictating everything. They rebelled about that, and that this was a problem for the control system, the emerging control system. So they had to start to do it another way, and they did it by moving these elite bloodlines, although they kept some in the royal families like we have in Britain, etc. But most of them went into what I call the dark suit professions and introduced this thing called democracy. And they had politicians which appeared to be voting in relation to what people wanted, and they were being elected by people. And then you had the corporations, and you had all these other things, all these dark suit professions of this cabal, and their agents and gophers were running this system. And for a long time, they ran it because they had to, as if people were free, and they equated freedom with democracy, which is just dictatorship by the majority, or even dictatorship by the minority in many countries. And people bought that. But what we're now seeing is the movement getting ever faster to the point where people are beginning to see again, as you know from your program, and I know from traveling the world and talking and researching this, more and more people are beginning to see again, actually, we're being controlled. It's almost like it's a return to, we're not having kings and queens dictating to us just because of their bloodline. And now people are starting to realize, hold on a second, in a different form, that's happening. And so we're seeing the European Union and all these other institutions of power becoming more and more blatant in the fact that that's what they are, dictatorships. And so this Rubicon that's been crossed with this Lisbon Treaty is going to take us into an era very, very soon where vast numbers of people will realize, actually, we're seeing another version of what humanity rejected centuries ago, which is the overt dictatorship by the few of the many. How we respond to that will decide how long it goes on for.
You mentioned, which is interesting, basically how the Roman Church has been built on a previous religion, pretty much.
Right.
They also use the name Europe, of course, which comes from Europa.
Which is another name for the goddess, another name for Semiramis and the goddess under so many names in different communities and societies, absolutely. We're seeing it re-emerging from behind the shield, from behind the smokescreen.
Because in one way you can look at that, the EU even have, in some cases, statues of Europa riding the bull, Zeus, you know, and in Christian lore, that could be interpreted as the woman who's riding the beast, you know, the harlot. If we look at it from the Bible again, it's Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and out of earth's abominations. So in one way you wonder, which one is it then? Is it that she's the bride of the devil or the mother of God here? Who are we talking about? Because if I just show you quickly, you've probably seen these images already. But that's the comparison of the European Parliament and Peter Bruegel's Tower of Babel. And of course, merged together, they look like the same. So are they building the Tower of Babel? Or are they building the Babylonian Empire again? But they're doing that under the guise of Christianity. Or what do you think is going on there?
Well, all the way through this period, from Babylon, Sumer, ancient Egypt, right through the present day, the same network of interbreeding families and bloodlines have been at work. And they've been following the same religion, worshipping the same, quote, gods. It's all been the same stream of belief, of manipulation of families all the way through. But there have been periods where they've had to hide it, and there's periods when they've put it in front of our faces because they were confident enough that they could get away with it. So if you go further back, they were openly displaying their human sacrifice, their idols, their symbols, the whole thing. And then they went through this period where they felt necessary to do it covertly. And what we're seeing now is the re-emergence of putting it in our face. Now, this is happening in two ways. First of all, they're doing that. But secondly, as a result of a tremendous amount of research by people over the last few years, and the internet and books, etc., increasingly vast numbers of people are aware of these symbols, they're aware of the bloodlines, they're aware of the agenda. And what's actually happening, what conspiracy research is actually about, is bringing from the subconscious, the subliminal, to the conscious mind. So if you show someone a subliminal advertisement, for instance, and they look at it, the conscious mind won't see it. Almost everyone's conscious mind won't see it. When you point out where the subliminal is, and then show it them again and again, any time, the first thing they will see is the subliminal they couldn't see before, right? This is the way it works. I mean, it's amazing, but it's the way it works. Because what you've done is you've brought it to conscious awareness. Now, as researchers, etc., have brought these things to public attention, they are bringing them out of the subconscious, out of the subliminal. And so people are seeing these things like they wouldn't have seen them before. So to an extent, they're putting it more and more in our face. But allied with that, people are seeing it more and more. Because a lot of things that were there before, like the Statue of Liberty, which is a classic representation of the goddess of Babylon in the way that she was portrayed, holding the torch, the lighted torch, which was the symbol of Nimrod, the Babylonian father god. And actually, she's actually standing in New York Harbor on a depiction of the sun. So it's all kind of sun-moon symbolism, which is basically the religions of these people, because that's another story. The sun-moon is covertly hiding the real meaning for those symbols. But so people are seeing it more, and will go on doing so, because these families are seeking to impose a global Roman Empire and a global Babylonian Empire, if you like, and therefore the symbols that they will use will be the symbols they've always used, and that's where it's becoming more blatant to people as they become more aware of what's going on.
If we look at some of the more obvious symbolism of the European Union, if we look at the flag then, for instance, again, we have the 12 stars in the flag. Do you think that that's an astrological / zodiacal reference? Is it a Catholic reference with the Mother Mary and her 12 stars around her head? Or if we take it further, do you think could it be like the 12 lost tribes of Israel? Is it a Zionist reference here as well? What do you think?
Well, people use symbols for different reasons, and they can have different meanings for the same symbol. But what is blatantly clear is that the 12 stars in a circle are an ancient symbol of the goddess. So, in the book of Revelation, which you can read in the Bible, you've got the 12 stars around the goddess figure, and the story that's told, cover story, is that there was a gentleman who was involved well before the European Union and the European community became established, who was involved in the background early administration of the whole process of introducing it, who was walking along and looked up, and he saw a statue of Mother Mary, and he looked up and he saw the stars around her head, and it was a clear blue sky, And he looked up and he saw the stars and the clear blue sky and said, that must be the symbol of the European Union. And he went along and he said it to his associates, and they said, that's a good idea. And we're asked to believe that. It's a blatant symbol of, at least on one level, the goddess figure. And, you know, the symbolism you've mentioned of the goddess Europa riding the bull. Well, the bull is the god figure. It's the Nimrod figure. And you've got commemorative coins being minted by the European Union over the years. There was one in 2005 to 2006, something like that, which has Europa riding the bull. I mean, they're ancient, esoteric, occult ritual symbols are all over the place because these families are that are behind the European Union were behind the Babylonian Empire, the Roman Empire. It's a continuation. It's not something new. It just changes the mask on its face as it moves through history.
Also, you mentioned Rothschild as being behind the creation of the European Union as well. And actually, yesterday I found an interesting thing regarding Rothschild. They said this: in 1954, Baron Robert Rothschild was appointed chef de cabinet of Paul Henry Spaak at the Belgian Foreign Ministry. For the next 2 years, he worked together with Spaak and, maybe butchering his name here, Jean-Charles Snoy et de Oppers, or something like that, on the Treaty of Rome. Before the final signing of the treaty in 1957, shortly before the treaty was signed, Rothschild standing beside Spaak, gazing over the Forum Romanum in Rome, when Spaak said, "I think that we have re-established the Roman Empire without a single shot being fired." Anything you want to comment in regards to that?
Exactly what they've done. Like I say, they want a global Roman Empire. The Rothschilds are fundamental to this. They are a family that were once called the Bowers, who were a notorious, if you say, black magic, occult, secret society type family, who changed their name to Rothschild, Red Shield. And from that time, they grasped control of the now global economic system. They control all global finance, virtually, that has any effect on people's lives anyway. And they operate as if not the spider, then the operational organization of the spider. They are the people that are closest to the spider and at the center of this global secret society web, and they hand out the agenda and make sure it's played out through the web in every country. And so they don't just control the financial level, they control the corporations, and they control governments, and they are also the guiding, controlling force behind a network of organizations which were spawned from a secret society started in Britain in the late 19th century called the Round Table. And the offshoot satellite organizations of this central core Rothschild-controlled secret society, the Round Table, they started off in 1920 with the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Watch the think tanks. Look how the world is awash with think tanks, right? The think tanks are the means through which this whole thing is orchestrated overwhelmingly. So you have a think tank called the Royal Institute of International Affairs in London. A year later, 1921, Council on Foreign Relations, which dominates United States foreign policy and the State Department in America, etc. Then you had the Club of Rome, I think that was 1968, that was set up to manipulate the environment and the environmental movement to justify global transformation. And this is where the lie of human-caused climate change has come from. 1954, you had the Bilderberg Group, and then in 1973, you had the Trilateral Commission, which was co-created by David Rockefeller, and the Rockefellers are a subordinate bloodline within the network to the Rothschilds. They represent the Rothschilds in America, the wider world too, but especially America. And the other co-creator of the Trilateral Commission was Zbigniew Brzezinski, Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter's national security advisor, who is one of the prime mentors of Barack Obama, who's just another, mask on the same face that as Bush was. And the Bilderberg Group is very, very